Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a close look at something really interesting, how African philanthropy is being reimagined.
Yeah, we're drawing heavily from an article by Wahiga K. Maturi, just out yesterday, May 4th, 2025. It's called Reimagining African Philanthropy, Trust-Based Approaches for Continental Transformation.
Right. And our mission, really, for this dive is to explore how African agency, African wisdom, is fundamentally reshaping how resources flow.
Exactly. It's about putting African leadership front and center in development.
And before we jump in, it's worth knowing a bit about the author, Wahiga K. Maturi. He's got a really diverse background, AI generalist.
Right, and also deep expertise in social enterprise, storytelling, comms, PR, media, innovation.
Plus community building, board work, internet governance, digital rights. It's quite a list.
And crucially, he spent a lot of time engaging directly with community innovators across Africa. I mean, Dakar and Maputo, really boots on the ground experience.
Okay, so let's get into the core idea. Wahiga makes this argument that trust-based philanthropy, it's not some new thing imported from the West.
That's absolutely central. He frames it as a revival, actually, a return to, pre-colonial African ways of sharing resources.
A revival. Yeah.
So, yeah, he talks about how ancestral societies understood that prosperity wasn't just about one person's brilliant idea, but it flowed from, like, collective wisdom, communal strength.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Collective wisdom driving communal prosperity.
Yeah.
So how does that connect to philanthropy today?
Well, Wahiga argues that this trust-based approach is fundamentally challenging the old colonial funding structures, the ones that often fragment development effort.
Right, the ones that might still be lingering.
Exactly. So the idea is to dismantle those by focusing on trust and local agency instead.
So to power shift then, moving African organizations away from just being seen as, well, beneficiaries.
Precisely. It's about recognizing them as the architects of their own development, valuing their lived experience, their contextual understanding way above some external analysis.
A deep local knowledge.
Yeah, the wisdom that's inherently within the communities themselves.
And it seems like Wahiga's own experiences really cemented this view for him. You mentioned his travel.
Definitely. He shares this really powerful story from 2019. He was facilitating a dialogue between tech entrepreneurs, some from Kibera in Kenya, others from Brazil's favelas.
Okay.
And they actually documented the outcome. When they shifted resources away from just ticking donor compliance boxes and towards actual community impact, they saw a 67% increase in program effectiveness.
Wow, 67%. That's by trusting local leaders and changing the focus.
Yeah, it's pretty stark, isn't it? He said it fundamentally changed how he thought about supporting innovation on the continent.
I can imagine. That's a huge difference.
It led him to realize, the solutions are often already there locally. What's missing are the platforms that actually value and elevate that local wisdom.
And is that where Give to Africa comes in? The G2A platform?
That's exactly it. It was born out of those kinds of conversations with grassroots visionaries, recognizing that need.
Okay, G2A. We'll definitely come back to that. But first, you mentioned Wahiga brings data to the table, too. It's not just anecdotal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He references several key studies, like research he was involved in at the African Philanthropy Forum back in 2024. It showed organizations that received unrestricted funding, funding without excessive strings attached, had 3.2 times greater community impact.
3.2 times. That really speaks volumes about flexibility and trust, doesn't it?
It really does. And then there's other work, a collaboration between Let's Create Africa & Co. and the Trust-Based Philanthropy Project.
What did that find?
Their 2023 data showed that simplifying the reporting requirements cut administrative burdens by 62%.
62%. So that frees up massive amounts of time and energy for the actual work.
Exactly. Less bureaucracy, more capacity for programs on the ground. Makes total sense.
It does. Any other key data points?
Yeah, one more big one. A longitudinal study with community foundations across 26 countries. This was the GFCF Continental Analysis in 2024. It found locally led organizations are amazing multipliers.
Multipliers. How so?
For every dollar of international funding they received, they managed to mobilize an additional $3.70 in local community resources.
Wow. So they leverage international money to build local support. That points towards sustainability, right?
Absolutely. It shows they're not passive recipients. They're actively building sustainable financing ecosystems within their own communities.
That's really powerful evidence. Now, Wahiga also talks about something called the Continental Knowledge Collective. What's that about?
Right, this is fascinating. It's basically a pan-African network Wahiga is part of, full of visionaries from all over Ethiopia, Senegal, you name it.
Okay, a network of leaders.
Yeah, and the key thing is their insights are distinct from, say, conventional Western analysis because they're deeply rooted in lived continental realities. They know the context.
So it's practical ground-level wisdom.
Totally. This group has actually pioneered trust-based approaches in all sorts of settings. Community foundations in Nigeria, CSR in Morocco, tech incubators in Rwanda. They've done it.
So they know how to translate these ideas into action.
Exactly. They can take complex local patterns, social or ecological, and turn them into real implementation pathways that respect the local context, but also connect to that bigger picture of African transformation.
Sounds like an incredible resource. And Wahiga suggests organizations can actually connect with this collective.
Yes, he does. It's framed as a real opportunity for developmental partnerships, for figuring out how to integrate better into the ecosystem. Their insights could be invaluable.
Okay, let's pivot to the practical side then. You mentioned Give to Africa, G2A, earlier. Wahiga highlights its structure as key to actually shifting power.
Right, that's the idea.
Mm.
He helped shape G2A, and it's designed to put these principles into practice, mainly through two big opportunities. First up is the NGO platform.
Okay, the NGO platform, what is it?
Think of it as a digital ecosystem. It's meant to directly connect community-based organizations with supporters globally, cutting out the middle layers.
Removing intermediaries.
Yeah, which can often dilute funding and impact. The platform focuses on organizations that can really show they're embedded in the community, have local governance, and are transparent.
Building a network of genuine change makers.
That's the goal. And here's a key thing for grassroots organizations listening. This platform is a direct route to get visibility and tap into global donor networks.
And how do they get on it?
Well, registration is free. And if organizations meet certain criteria, they call them Grassroots Champions, they get prioritized visibility. It's a concrete pathway.
That sounds like a fantastic opportunity, especially for smaller groups. What's the second opportunity within G2A?
The second one is the Fiscal Sponsorship Program. This tackles a really big structural hurdle.
Which is?
Many African organizations don't have U.S. tax-exempt status, which locks them out of a lot of international funding, especially from the U.S. This program provides the legal infrastructure they need.
Ah, so it unlocks access to those previously inaccessible funding pools. That's huge.
It really is. It basically levels the playing field for impactful African initiatives.
And who's eligible for this fiscal sponsorship?
It's pretty broad, actually. Nonprofits, certainly, but also government agencies, social enterprises, research institutions, even international development partners working on the continent.
So quite a wide range.
Yeah, and it's worth noting here, Wahiga's own global experience and skill set, have been really vital in shaping these kinds of unique partnership opportunities that G2A is now facilitating. Give to Africa really stands out as a unique partner in this space.
Okay, so for people listening, maybe leaders of organizations, how do they actually take advantage of these opportunities? Wahiga gives specifics, right?
He does, very clearly. For the G2A NGO platform, there's a priority registration deadline coming up, May 16th, 2025.
Okay, May 16th.
Remember, registration's free, gives immediate access, and Grassroots Champions get priority. You need Wahiga's personal country representative code, which is 3952.
3952.
Yep. And the link is wkf.ms4izqcne. Wahiga also suggests letting him know once you've registered, just drop him a note for priority processing. It's a direct invitation to connect.
Got it. And for the fiscal sponsorship program?
Same priority deadline, May 16th, 2025. Same code, 3952. The registration link for this one is different, though. It's forms.monday.com forms, and then a string of characters. Maybe you check the show notes for that full link.
Good idea. We'll put both links there. And again, notify Wahiga after registering.
Right. And Wahiga does offer a piece of advice. If your organization is still building capacity, maybe limited staff, budget, networks, he suggests prioritizing the NGO platform first, build visibility and connections there.
That makes sense. Start with the platform.
And again, it's important to see Give to Africa G2A, not just as a platform, but as a unique partner, a collaborator, really pushing this evolution in African philanthropy forward. Wahiga's global perspective is definitely shaping these unique partnership opportunities.
This all sounds very concrete, very actionable. It feels less like theory and more like, well, building the future?
That's exactly Wahiga's call to action. He's urging African organizations to step up and claim their rightful place in these global resource flows by using these tools.
It's a movement then.
Absolutely. A movement to reimagine philanthropy using African wisdom, positioning African organizations as stewards of their own brilliance, not just passive recipients. It's a chance to really own the narrative.
And what about organizations looking for something deeper, maybe more strategic?
For those seeking broader strategic partnerships, perhaps across Africa and the MENA region, Wahiga points back to that advisory collective we mentioned. Their focus is on amplifying indigenous knowledge and building sustainable impact pathways.
And is there a way to connect with them or with Wahiga directly for that?
Yes, Wahiga offers a 15-minute strategic e-consultation. There should be a booking link for that associated with his article or perhaps in our notes.
Okay, quick strategic chat.
Or you can email him directly, wahigxmm@letscreate.africa. It's an open invitation to explore collaboration.
Great. So let's try and wrap this up. What's the main takeaway from our deep dive today?
I think it's this powerful shift happening in African philanthropy, a move towards trust, towards local agency, really valuing indigenous knowledge. And as Wahiga argues, this isn't new. It's a resurgence of deep-rooted wisdom.
And alongside that vision, there are these really tangible, exciting opportunities being created, specifically through Wahiga's work and platforms like Give to Africa. Opportunities for organizations to connect, to get resources, to build capacity, and importantly, to lead.
Exactly. It paints a picture of a potentially very strong future for Africa's local philanthropy sector, one driven by the continent's own brilliance and fostered through real collaboration.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is to consider how might you or your network plug into this? How might you connect with this evolving landscape and be part of this shift? What possibilities open up when we embrace this way of thinking?